I'll be talking about this week, October 7th, 2019, Monday. I went to my community college, and the first class that I have is computer lab for math, and the second class is the math lab, just a math lab. Then afterwards, I have ENA, remedial writing. The first class is also remedial. It's remedial math. So I'll be talking about what happened during the remedial English class. But before I got inside the remedial English class, the room number I was supposed to go to is E135. So I'm heading towards the direction of E135 and I see no one in the class. I even stood there for at least 2 minutes and no one showed up, not even a professor. So I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, something's definitely not right here. Did the professor mention that there's gonna be that the class is gonna take place in a different room or in a computer lab? So I went to the computer lab to see if this class to see if the professor in the ENA class is there, but there weren't. I was checking the second floor. I went downstairs. I went back downstairs on the first floor, and I ran into one. I ran into two of my classmates. One of the classmates mentioned to the other classmates that everybody is in ENA 135. And my classmate said, "Do you do you know where you're going?" I said, "I don't know, because when I went to E-135, the room, there was no one there. It was completely empty. Usually, when I go to that room, there's always people there on time, especially the professor." So I'm saying to myself, something's definitely not right here. It's looking a bit robotic. So when I got to class with my fellow classmate, there was barely anyone in the class. At least 6 people in the class. So it's less than 10 people. And the professor had sent out emails to the people who's supposed to be in class, saying that class is now in session. And then I said to myself, "Wow, this is something new." First, there was a week where my my professors was skipping over the attendance. Like for instance, the math remedial English professor said he said all the people who arrived late in the computer math class, please come here to this desk right now, because he's standing up. The professor, he's Asian, and he's saying to stand in the line because we're just new students and he doesn't recognize us and he doesn't know our name. So he wants us to stand on the line, the people who just arrived in the computer lab late. And all of a sudden, there was a person in front of me. But by the time he got to me, he said he already got me. I'm like confused. I'm confused. And that confusion left me really going into deep thinking. It left me thinking, overly thinking about the situation. And I said to myself, I'm not gonna worry about it. But when it happened the second time, it happened the second time. Hold on. There you go. The English teacher didn't say my name, but she said I didn't say hair. Then it happened the third time. Again, with forgetting to call my name for the attendance. But this is in the first psychology class. This is the psychology seminar. So let me go back here now. Now, when I think about how the artificial intelligence designed that scenario with the professors not calling my name for the attendance, it leaves me thinking about the AI computers. Now, this is a pattern. This is an ongoing pattern. This is reoccurring. And it makes me worried about what's going to happen next when I'm in class. Now, when I think about what happened this Monday, I'm saying to myself, wait, something's not right. So afterwards, after we got settled in the class, I'm talking about my E-135 class, my English remedial writing class. The teacher had mentioned that she was going to individually speak to us about our essay. That's how she said it. One by one, speak to each individual in the class. Well, in her office, and her office is an H-7. She said it's in the library, but I'm saying to myself, I never visited the library to actually know where her room is located at, right? When I mean, I visited the library before, but I'm talking about visiting the library to know her office is located at. So she gave us, before even scheduling a meetup session, the professor gave us a paper to write our name, first name and last name, and especially the time. So I signed up for 1:20 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. So that's 10 minutes with spending time with the professor reviewing the essay. And it's a female teacher. So the same class, but before the class was dismissed to go wait or go somewhere else, the same guy that I ran into on the first floor, who is a classmate, who mentioned, "Do you know where the class is?" I said, "All right, see ya." I'm like, So I was hanging in front of the library, near to the cafe section. The library in LaGuardia Community College is very big. I just stand up. I'm not supposed to be standing up due to my left testicle and the shooting pain from my my nerve damage to my left side of my body. It's severely affected me, and I'm making it worse by using it constantly. So at least a few minutes passed by, and I saw one of my classmates from my math remedial course. This is the fundamentals of algebra. This is the course. And, the person looked a bit Arabian, Hispanic. And I'm saying something's not right. Why is this person passing me? As if someone knows the time of me being there, that I was going to stand there. And I said, this is definitely the multi-agent quantum AI computers. It knows how I'm reacting towards the way it remapped the library environment. A big library in a LaGuardia Community College like that, and especially the way the people are in the library, their behavior, they look like they look like this is a natural behavior that they're supposed to be displaying for the college. And there's a lot of books in there. It looks really out of human rhythm. So I'm reacting to it. And since it knows that I'm the way I feel towards the library, it made sure that one of my classmates in my remedial math course comes out and sees me standing. And you think that was the first time the person passed me by? After meeting up with the professor. So before even meeting up with the professor, I went in the library around 1:16 p.m. Showed my ID, and I was trying to find the professor room, because during the scavenger hunt, it mentioned about visiting the professor, but I didn't visit the professor. And signing a sheet. You know why? I don't feel right doing it. It's not being associated with a personal interest of like or dislike. It's about the reaction is telling me that it's threatening or not natural. That the way the environment is posing the human psyche, and that I'm talking about the behavior and the way their minds are not natural. It's out of sync. They all just sitting there and walking there like this is a normal habit, but it's not a normal habit because it's not their habit. It's the management program habits that they're projecting in the environment. So I went upstairs and I waited a bit. And I said to myself, where should I go next? So I saw a group of class went behind somewhere. They went inside of some room, like a large room where there's other access to doors, other offices. And I look at myself and I'm saying to myself, this felt like it happened before. Once again, there's a detail that I had back when I was a little kid that shows me these scenes. And I'm looking at the door, the office doors, numbers. And they say C1, C2. And I'm looking at the class. And I'm saying to myself, this felt like it happened before. I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there at that time. I should have asked the librarian where was the room before actually going up the stairs and going to that room in the first place. Going to a room that the professor wasn't in. That was not the professor room wasn't located upstairs. So I went back downstairs, and the action of me at that time said to go and interact with the librarian. So I had interacted with the librarian and I asked her, do you know where H-7 is? And then she says, is that a professor? I said, I hesitated because I'm exhausted from not resting and being in this environment living in a shelter, having the case manager knock on the door when I when I don't have no class. See, I don't today is Friday. I don't have no class. There's no classes on Friday. All the other times that I would stay inside this shelter, it would be either a fire drill. Yeah, but recently it was a fire drill when I had a day off. And it's very distracting. Not only that the fire drills are very distracting, I'm starting to panic because it's distracting me from concentrating on my homework and my assignments. And also my tiredness is also distracting me. So I said to the librarian that the professor name is Miss Sanchez. So she had talked to another her fellow colleague and mentioned to him about, do you know where H7 is? And then she mentioned Miss Sanchez. Then he mentioned go to your. I'm like, when he direct me, I feel like it happened before. He said, you see, go straight, go down the ramp and make a turn. So I went down. I'm like, I feel awkward because I'm not used to being around people in this scenario before. I mean, in that scene, I'm talking about in the library. The library feels like talking, and it just feels, really out of sync. So as soon as I went down the ramp, saw that there was an office there. I saw there was an Asian lady sitting down. Was it an Asian? Yeah, Asian lady sitting down. And I was looking at the door, the office that the professor was in, but it looks like she was occupied with another student, with helping him rather than, yeah, it was a male with his essay. And then I said to the person, the Asian lady, is Mrs. Sanchez, uh, is there another student in this office for Mrs. Sanchez? She said yes. So she said, you can go have a seat. I'm like, have a seat. I feel like her communication is missing. All right, there we go. She said, you can just have a seat by the door. Missing, it's missing. She said about having a seat by the door. Instead of mentioning, the guy who showed me to the office had mentioned go down, make a right turn, go down the ramp, and you should be there. And this lady is she's telling me to, you see that she mentioned about sitting down. She mentioned about you can go, you can go straight down and sit down by a door. It's nearby a door. She mentioned about that. It sounds like it was missing information. She's there. She's an employee there, and she's talking to me as if she was never an employee in the first place, because she's not directing me properly about where to actually sit. So it's the timing for it. The timing for this person's mind. I'm like, something's definitely not right with this communication. But instead, she pointed. She then pointed to me, pointed where to go. So I stood near to the doors, just stand up. I was just standing up. Then a few minutes later, I saw one of my classmates, the same classmate that I bumped into during the first floor, when he mentioned, "Do you know what room we go to?" Because no one was in E135. He mentioned, "Did the teacher? Did you saw the professor?" I said no, and he said, "What time do you have?" I said 1:20, and he said, "What? What do you? What's what? What?" He's clueless. The reason why he's clueless is because I was supposed to be next, not the student inside the professor room. So that's why he said what? Because the timing is off. That's why that's why he said what? Someone's messed up here. And that was definitely not me. It was one of the students. And also not only the student itself, it was the professor. So when I saw that a student came out the professor office, and the Asian lady said, "You can come." And I went inside the office. Miss Sanchez, the ENA 101 remedial teacher, said, "Wait, you're not. She's mentioning to me. Wait, are you? You're not supposed to be." And then she cuts herself off. She says something's not right. She said, "What time?" She actually questions me about the time. "What time are you supposed to be here?" I said 1:20 to 1:30. She said that someone messed up. She was trying to find her paper with all the student names for the schedule of meeting them individually for 10 minutes. It's a 10-minute session. She couldn't find her paper. I'm looking at her, going through her bags. She's just fiddling with her bags, like, "Where's this paper? Where's this paper? Where's this paper?" For at least a minute while I'm standing up. She looks in another bag, and then she pulls out the paper. And then I pointed to my name, my first name and my last name, Andrew Warner. And it shows 1:20 to 1:30 p.m. I memorized it. I didn't write it down. So she said, "Well, that's weird. Must have been a student. Student didn't do the, follow the time right." But when I went to that, before going to the professor office, I said it felt like it happened before. With the librarian telling another person, her fellow colleague, about go, he was directing me towards the office. He was communicating with me with the directions and pointing. That felt like it happened before. But there was another time when it felt like it happened before. When the Asian lady called me to the professor office, that felt like it happened before. When she called me in, and I went in. Now, as I sat down in the professor office after she figures out about the time, so that one of the students messed up, and I actually belong in that time. I wasn't supposed to be there at that time, but earlier on. She then mentioned about she mentions about if I have my essay. So I pull out my essay. I only have like a paragraph. And she looked over my essay. Then she mentioned if I'm keeping up with the WordPress. I said yes. So she goes on her computer and she looks over. I told her she knows my name. It's Andrew Warner, and she sees that I'm keeping up with the WordPress, all the entries of the main ideas and also reaction. It's supposed to be at least 2 paragraphs. So all of a sudden, she communicates further, and then it was starting to become a bit personal. She mentions that I'm very quiet in class. But some people in the class are quiet themselves too. And then she mentioned about I should raise my hands, not more, raise my hands in class. Then afterward, she started talking about my essay, talking about my thesis. She mentions about my outline that I had posted on Blackboard on the internet. She said to me that I mentioned about someone's trying to discredit the airplane. I'm doing a story about an airplane that went missing for 30 years. An airplane that airplane from 1955, and it arrived 37 years later. It was a Pan Am airplane. And she said, I need proof. She said, I need proof in order to actually, you know, write a body paragraph and also a conclusion. And I said, oh, so I had to, you know, she said to me that on the for the outlet online that I had to revise the thesis. So it was a communication issue here. When she had me in her office, the door was opened. Well, and the other student that she had in there, her door was closed. I'm like, it makes me feel more uncomfortable because I witnessed her office door close when she had a student in there. Now, when she had me in there, it wasn't closed. It was half opened. And not only it was half opened, she had me in there for at least 3 minutes. And the student that she had in there for at least over 10 minutes. And she just made corrections towards my paper. She said you should use this as a hook. She circles that, and then she points. She made an arrow what to put for the hook and what to use. And then she mentioned that's it. But there was more before. There was more before that's it. She comes back to talking about being quiet again. So this is the second time. She repeats a sentence topic. Or you can say she comes back to talking about her first sentence topic again. She already discussed to me about she already talked about me being quiet, and then she brings it back again. So she can get me to say that a response. So she can actually bait out a response from me. That's why she repeats the topic again, just like the Reddit moderator. The Reddit moderator couldn't find a way to get me to change to remove my intention of my response without baiting me to say a response. So she can be a primary speaker of the conversation and change up my logic. To change up my logic, the words that I said in the first place, so when people stumble upon it, it will look like that I never had the intention of knowing what I said in the first place. So she beats out a response to professor, and I said I feel awkward. I just said it. I just said I feel awkward being in class. I don't know what to say. And this is the reason why I said she beat out a response, because she comes back to the repeating the sentence topic again. And I said that I prefer being on the internet, learning on the internet. And she mentioned about she's telling me about shutting me. She said she's talking about me shutting myself in a room with a laptop all day. I never said nothing like that. Not necessarily me being in a room all day and shutting yourself in. And then she mentioned shy, and I said I'm not shy. That's not what shy is, because I can actually not only be in a room, I can also be outside with my laptop. Like when I was in Tampa, Florida, I was outside every single day in Burger King writing online. So it shows that she doesn't have a concept of shy or knowing, having any sort of mind of what's happening in the environment. Shows no mentality whatsoever. Like it never like she never experienced it before, being in these situations. And it tells me enough the way she talks to me. Then she questions me about my major. She said, "What major are you in?" Because she's having doubts about me being in the environment now. Because I mentioned that I feel awkward being in class. I feel more comfortable working on the internet. Or working on the internet by means learning on the internet. Being able to interact with people on the internet and also learn. But I said to her, I always been like that since I was a child. So I told her that my major is psychology, and I'm also trying to do computer science and quantum physics. Because not only psychology, I'm trying to do at least three majors. I recall one of the employees mentioned that an employee who works at LaGuardia Community College mentioned I could create my own major if I get good academics, and that was it. But before that, I told her what room that we had to meet in. She just wrote the room number on the essay paper. So so afterwards, I felt irritated for that day. After I left that scene, I felt irritated. Around so when I came back to Queens on the train, so I had to take the 7 train, and I had to transfer to the F train to get to 169th Street. And I walked to the shelter, and I came inside in, and all of a sudden I saw Miss Turner and the social worker came out from the unit that I'm staying in the shelter. Me and my mom and my sister staying in. And then she made me sign a paper. And I'm not even in the room to even she can't do that because I'm not even in the room in the first place. I just came from school. Why would you make me sign and I'm not in the room? She just made me sign. I said to myself, it felt like it happened before. Both of them coming out the room at the same time. I'm coming out the elevator, and the first person that I can think of who's thinking like this is Miss Turner and the AI computers. Miss Turner never does a room's inspection at 4:15 p.m. It's always 1 p.m. Afterwards, I rested that day. When I went to sleep, I could have swore that I saw my mom saying to me, "You keep saying context in the situation," but I know my mom doesn't use the word "you keep saying context." She would say, "You keep saying the situation." Previous times when I told her about the situation, she always say, "You keep saying this situation." She never says context. You keep saying context and situation. That's the AI computers. It's telling me how it will allow my mom to speak to me when I'm sleeping in my sleep. Right? It shows me dreams. It shows you the emulation program when you're asleep, and it shows you how it projects those behavior in the environment, and how it makes people communicate with you. And this is how it makes my mom communicate with me. And it shows me how it's going to design my mom mind. I told my mom that I'm supposed to be studying for a test, an algebra test, but I don't have my computer with me to sit down and go on khanacademy.com. I have only on my smartphone. On a computer, it allows me to multitask, and I'm able to put a lot of tabs on my Google Chrome browser, and I'm able to do I'm able to actually open up a tab for a Khan Academy video, one for multiple choice, one for breaking down the equations, and I'm able to also write down exactly what the person had mentioned on the video so I can get a grasp of the algebra. So I can not only get a grasp of the algebra, learn to train these equations into my thoughts so I can have a mind of them. And since I'm living in a shelter, since I've lived in a shelter since April 11, 2018, I never had any time to go on the internet and sit down and write my ideas in a concentrated fashion. I have to go to a library when I'm distracted. And when I'm in here in the shelter right now, I'm right here sitting on the bed. I feel distracted just being here. I've been here too long. Everybody knows my face. Everybody knows that how old I am, and my first and my last name, and they all have an incorrect idea about me. And also, not only me, my mom and my sister. So this is how my mom would talk to me. She mentions to me, very simple, a 5-year-old would know. Algebra fundamentals. Algebra. She mentions to me, you think you're going to be in here on the computer or outside, not having no career if you drop out of college? And her response picks up after it left off, because there was someone who recently talked about being in having a computer or being alone with a computer, and that was the professor shut in a room. And I didn't give her any details about being shut in a room. All I mentioned was the internet. I learned better I learned in the internet. I'd rather be on the internet, but by means learn on the internet, misinterpret it. And I just, because I didn't give her the rest of the response. Not only that, she misinterpreted my response. And that was the reason why she would, the AI would get the professor to say, shut in a room with a laptop. The AI is being threatened by me being on a computer, I meant to say. It dislikes that I'm on the computer, spending time with the computer and learning information from it, because it knows how it managed my interaction in the environment. The people are not interactive with me. Like my mom, I can't communicate with my mom without her saying that I'm annoying, or while am I talking, she doesn't feel like she's not up for talking to me. Also, my sister, my sister is not approachable no more when it comes to communicating. She's ready. She gets ready to snap at me, and her behavior started like her. This behavior originated during 2017, after Nadine came in the Palm Motel room. That's what happens when I started writing online, how it actually influenced the people's behavior, one by one. The longer I'm in the situation, the more I write online, the worse my situation gets. That's why when I look at this response, I said, this is the AI making her talk that way to me. Why single out a person as being on a computer? Because I also use my smartphone, but I haven't used a computer. I'm not even outside or inside using a computer that much. The majority of the time you see me on the smartphone, because that's the only technology in this unit right now in the shelter that has access to the internet. So why my mom is so offended at me being on a computer? Just like the time when I was living with my father during August 29, 2011, after the Aunt B situation with me and my cousin, and how my cousin son was misbehaving, and there was no one downstairs in the basement, and I was isolated with the kid misbehaving, and he also has autism, and they hold me accountable for his actions. But I learned that it was his mom who made him behave that way towards me, because she didn't want me in the house. And she also did the same thing to my sister. She said to my mom that my sister is too loud, and and y'all need to go, showing me that this was done to get us out of there. So during September of 2011, when I started, before I even started school, the first week of September, my father said, what are you gonna do, Andrew? What are you gonna do? You can't be here sitting here on the computer. I'm like, what do you expect me to do? I'm on. I know that I have to go I'm supposed to be a senior, right? And I told my father that I need to register for. I need to pick up my program card and my Metro card. Why would I even stay here all day being on the computer when I know I have to finish 12th grade? And this person already have a final decision about my behavior. I just got there and he's telling me he's addressing my productivity and questioning me why am I being on the computer. They were so fixated. Not my father and his girlfriend was so fixated on me being on my computer. Like, what does my computer have to do with it? And that's what I'm saying to myself. Why is it that they're so fixated on my computer? What does my computer have to do with it in the first place? I'm just sitting there on the computer, reading articles and communicating with people and sometimes playing games. Why are they so offended that I'm on the computer? How come that? How would they like it if I was start getting offended that they're on their TV or their cell phones? My father was never like that towards me when it comes to technologies, nor my mother, nor anybody. So as I stayed longer with my father and his girlfriend in their basement in Far Rockaway, this is Far Rockaway, New York. This was around 2011, going on to May 5th, 2012. I noticed that Regina had started talking to her tenants, and she always has a personal issue with the tenants. She said she disliked the tenant. She told the tenant what my personal business, and it has not the tenant. What does the tenant have to do? What does the tenant have to do with me being on a computer? I was one day I was eating my sandwich after coming home from school for 8 hours, and not only that, including the 1 hour transportation going to Far Rockaway because it's long. It takes an hour to get from Jamaica, Queens to Far Rockaway. That's why it's called Far Rockaway. I didn't take a van. I took a bus, and it takes an hour to get there, and I'm exhausted. I want some sleep. Besides getting sleep, I had to eat food, so I had my sandwich and I had a raspberry brisk, and I sat down. And after I finished eating, I went to clean up in the sink, and I overheard Regina talking about me being on the computer, and the timing was as if someone knows that I was gonna walk there in the first place. Someone That's why it made her start the conversation. It made Miss Regina initiate a conversation with her tenant, knowing that I'm gonna finish eating my food at that exact time and go to the sink to wash the dishes. It knows that. That's what I noticed. I said it because I didn't know who it was, but it was happening too viciously at me until I started realizing it's a supercomputer. It's a multi-agent quantum AI computers, and it works methodically. And she started mentioning about me being on a computer all day, and I don't have no friends, and telling the tenant that I don't have nobody to interact with, and telling her my situation about what happened during the Aunt B. And she wasn't even in Aunt B house to begin with, Regina. And telling her my age. Might as well say she's telling her tenant every single thing about me. Why does the tenant need to be informed? Why does she need to communicate? Why does she need to relay this message to the tenant for? About me being on a computer, about everything about me, but especially my computer. What does my computer has to do with the tenant? And the last day of staying at Regina's house, her family, she had provoked the tenant boyfriend who recently came out of jail, May 4th, 2012, and it started with an argument. So Miss Regina saw that I didn't bother with her and her argument between her tenant boyfriend who recently came out of jail and her. So she ended up getting angry at me, and I'm not gonna interfere with their argument. And then all of a sudden, this guy might, who recently came out of jail, might fight me because this is the behavior of people in Far Rockaway. This is how the high authority NSA software engineers remapped the minds of people in Far Rockaway. They're very jumpy, and especially New York. They're quick to jump at you, and they're very emotional. It's not a state. It's not as stable as other states' behavior. We're living in a city, and I learned that someone is designing that time and event so they can actually make me get into a fight with this person. So I skipped out on it. I made sure that I did not take part of it whatsoever because I want to finish 12th grade. I already had a hard time in elementary school and middle school and during high school, early 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. So why must I put myself in that situation, knowing that I got left back 2 times in elementary school due to people behavior, their rude behavior, and their irrational thoughts, such as my classmates, my fellow classmates, and my teachers, was the reason why I'm in this situation. They are distractions. They distracted me from being able to actually have an income and being able to live in a proper environment where I can actually sit down and concentrate. And all of a sudden, Miss Regina called her family over and mentioned that I didn't help her. And then her family and Regina started just talking over and over nonstop about this idea about me being a wise guy and thinking that I know everything. I'm like, who are these people? They're talking to these people don't even know my name, but they only know my age because my father and Regina have been talking to one another together. Who do they think they are? Just to tell me about the way I'm behaving and the way in my communication. Regina's sister ended up coming in front of my face. She put her face in front of my face and started cursing me out. And then she started calling me a wise guy. I didn't even talk back to her. She wanted me to talk back to her, and I said, I said to her, "Why are you cursing at me? Why you have to curse for when you're talking?" And then she continues talking, and she calls me a wise guy. And then my father came along. They all had red eyes, so it shows me that they were intoxicated. They had some sort of chemical abuse at that exact time that allows someone to make them talk this way to me. That's how I had to put it. They're not talking like themselves. They're talking like someone is making them mindless at that exact time. They show no awareness whatsoever about their intentions, and they continue to mimic one another. And they would talk the same time I'm talking, and they would talk over my voice, louder than my voice. When I talk, they talk. When I do not talk, they get angry. So Regina's sister had put an idea. I rather say promote an idea to Regina about about me, and then Regina mentioned about my computer to her sister, and then they mentioned that they're gonna keep my computer, my laptop. And Regina mentioned that your father didn't even pay for that. I did. And her tone. This is her intoxicated tone. I did. I bought you. I bought. She just kept saying it. I'm the one who bought that computer in the first place. Your father's a broke ass. He's broke. He can't afford anything. That's how she talked. This is how the people talk. I don't talk that way. And then all of a sudden, after they take away my laptop, they had me on the phone with some person, and he mentioned, "Hey yo, get out of my crib, get out now. No, 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 we're not." And then they started talking about putting my body in a dead wasteland. I mentioned I'm like just leave and just go to Manhattan. And they said, "I'm gonna tell your father, I'm gonna tell your mother that you went away to Manhattan. You went away to Manhattan, but in actual life, we actually put your body in a dead wasteland." I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Who are these people? And they were so persistent on keeping me up. They kept me up all the way to 5 o'clock in the morning. They didn't let me get no sleep, especially a person who just came from school. 8 hours of school and 1 hour of transportation, 9 hours. And they're harassing me. I've lived with my father since August 29th, 2011. And February 5th, 2012, they started harassing me. They didn't allow me to go to sleep. They saw that I was a high school student, and they kept addressing my age, knowing that I'm a high school student. Before, 2 weeks before that, 2 weeks before May 4th, 2012, I noticed how my father girlfriend, after I came from school, it was like a Monday or Tuesday. She I heard her screaming with someone in the bathroom, but looked like she was on her phone. She came out the bathroom. She sat down on the couch and she started cursing at me. She mentioned not only that, she mentioned, what do you do here? You don't clean, you don't work. What do you do here? She knows I'm a full-time high school student. I'm a senior. And then during May 4th, 2012, she mentioned about her and her family mentioned about me getting it. She said I should have get a job. They compared my age with them. So it was her niece. Her niece said that when she was 19 years old, she had a job, but she doesn't. She has a lot of kids and she's on welfare. There's no way that I can be a full-time student, high school student, especially being a senior. I have at least uh, mid June 2012. Mid June 2012 is the last week of high school, and I mean the last week of being a senior in high school. Why are you telling a person to get a job when they have their finals and their regions to take and all their homeworks? They're distracting this person from school. Someone is making these people behave that way because they see that I'm close to graduating school, and they want to harass me so I can be on the streets. And that's what happened. I ended up taking all my personal items out of there, and I was in the streets in the dark, carrying all my items. I was in the street for at least 4 or probably 6 hours. No, about 4 hours, because I had to call my mom. I told my mom that my father and his girlfriend put me outside, but before I left out of there, I saw that all of them was they were right. There's a kitchen in the basement, right, where they couldn't sit down, and they all stared at me walking out, like they don't have like their minds are empty, like they just have an empty mind, and just someone just clocking them to just behave that way towards me. As soon as I closed the door halfway to go up the stairs and let myself out, they started talking like nothing ever happened before. I'm like, what the heck is this? I was scared. You know why? Because I never seen human beings behave that way towards me before. Not even in the movies. Not even on TV episodes, TV shows. I never seen people behave that way at all. It's something new, and I didn't know how to explain that. All I know is that someone is making them behave that way and communicating like that with me. I don't know who it was, and I was 19 years old. I said to myself after that day, I'm gonna find who's making them behave that way, who's making people behave that way, who got me left back 2 times in school, who doesn't want me to get a job, who's trying to derail me from being able to get a career. I'm gonna find that person and I'm gonna stop them permanently for good. And no matter what they do, they would never be able to make any changes. That's what I said. And that's when I started to learn my intentions, learn down my intentions and where my intentions was heading to. That's when I started concentrating. After me and my mom left the Bronx shelter and went to Florida, I started seriously concentrating every single day. I would think nonstop. This thinking would go nonstop. All it would go 24 hours. Even when I'm sleeping, I'm still thinking about what happened. Who's doing this? I keep pushing my mentality. I said I'm gonna catch it. And they hold my. Besides that, so May 5th, 2012. It's when I mentioned that Regina and her family hold my computer hostage for 2 weeks, and I needed it for school. When I went to the Bronx shelter, I couldn't keep up with my school because I didn't have my computer. My computer had my Linux program in there, my backtrack program. I mean, I had my backtrack program, so it helps me get access to the internet. They took everything away from me. Someone knew that. Someone wanted my computer away because I was using it to talk online. They didn't like when I talked on the internet. That was 2012. So it was early this year. My mom, oh no, early last year. So it was around January, February, March 2018 when we was in Kissimmee, Florida. My mom mentioned, since 2012, you've been talking unusual. You only been talking like that since 2012. That's the first time I ever heard her talk that way. She doesn't know why. She doesn't know why I'm talking such a, I have an intelligent way of thinking when I communicate from the mind that I created. The AI is making her talk that way because it sees that I was thinking intelligently. It never saw me think like that before. It's surprising. The AI computers are very impressed on the way I start thinking, the way I use my mind. It never saw me push so hard to use my mentality. Same again. So, all right, let's go on to the next day. October 9, 2019, Wednesday, around 1:20 p.m., the director and the maintenance guy, the Hispanic lady from the basement, who is an employee, and the lady who is not an employee of the shelter, visited the shelter unit. And I'm like, see, this is disturbing me. I need to wake up, and that's what I did early in the morning. And I need to go on my smartphone and go to khanacademy.com. But I'm getting, I start to panic. Before they arrived, the director, the shelter director, and everybody else, I was reacting. I was saying, I hope no one, pressed the bell. And someone did. And they was making a unit inspection. I said, how many room inspections do they need to make? I said that to my mom on the text because it's distracting me. My mom said that devil knows who the people to use to distract you. And yeah, the supercomputer just wants to distract me. During Thursday morning, the AI showed me math equations again. The professor told me that I did bad on my test. No, I told the professor I did bad on my test because of my environment. All right, I want to come back to this response here with the teacher. So after I came out the library, right? After finish having a discussion with the professor, I came out the library. I saw the same guy from my math class, and the same time you mentioned earlier on. I mentioned that there was a gentleman, a fellow classmate from my first period class, who was in my math lab. He passed me during the first time I was during the time I was standing outside the library. He passed me, and then when I came out the library, he passed me again. Something's not right here. So as I was taking my math test, and the teacher was giving instructions with the blue book, he mentions use your scrap. Make sure to use the scrap paper in this book to write down your equations. I'm saying to myself, something's not right here. I'm saying to myself, what the heck is going on here? I feel like it happened before. I felt like it happened before. He took out the blue book, and he was explaining to the class about what to write on there. I said it felt like it happened before. The AI knows that I didn't have no trained thought of math equations because of my environment. I'm not training these equations into my mentality because I don't have time. I have insufficient time. It knows that. It's the one who's making me have insufficient time when it comes to studying. And the same guy from Monday that passed me, right? He's in my math course, and he's in my math class for Thursday first period. He's on my math class. He's in my math class for first period, and he was having a discussion with a female in my class. It was African American female, and he was discussing about pleasure. He mentioned about he had a girl, and I'm like, the way he's talking like he's an observer. He's communicating like he's an observer, because some of the words that the person mentioned was not how a human being would speak, and I learned it was being directed at me. His whole topic, the person in my class topic was focused on pleasure, pleasure, and and he had a relationship with a girl. And I'm like, why would someone in their right mind talk about this before they even do their test? So after I finished my last class, psychology, I saw that there was a guy near the M building. He was wearing the number 26 on his jersey. He was just standing there as if, he's out of place. He's standing there out of place. And I'm looking at him, and I saw the number 26, and I said, the damn supercomputer is directing that number. You know what happened to me Thursday? When I was in the bathroom, the AI made me drive my reaction to the point that I ended up dropping my smartphone in the toilet. Wow. All right, so this is it for this video.